Now let me tell you something, when John Wayne died in 1979, his house in Newport Beach was sealed up right away. Every photo, letter and personal item was kept locked away for over 30 years. In 2011, the doors were finally opened, and what they found inside stunned everyone. From record-breaking movie props to a shocking will that tore his family apart, this is the true story of what happened to the Duke's fortune. John Wayne was born Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907, in Winterset, Iowa. He weighed 13 pounds, which was so unusual that the local newspaper wrote about it right away. He seemed destined to be bigger than life. When he was only 3, he almost died when he fell into an icy creek. A stranger who was walking by saved him, and that event showed the kind of strength he would carry with him his whole life. His name changed early on when his parents had another son and decided to name him Robert. Marion's middle name was changed to Mitchell. This might seem like a small change, but it was a big deal. In 1914, his father's business failed, so the family moved to Glendale, California. Marion got the nickname Duke from his Airedale Terrier, also named Duke. The two were always together, so local firefighters started calling them Big Duke and Little Duke. Marion liked the nickname and it stuck. As a child, Maran loved football. In 1925, he got a football scholarship to the University of Southern California, where he studied pre-law and was a Sigma Chi. His football dreams ended when he hurt his shoulder while body surfing. Losing the scholarship was devastating, and he thought his plans were over, but the accident led him to the path that made him famous. After his football career ended, Marion got a job as a prop man at Fox Studios in 1927, making $35 a week. It wasn't glamorous, but it got him started. His first appearance on film wasn't as an actor, but as an uncredited football player in the 1926 movie. During this time, he became friends with director John Ford, who saw something in him and gave him advice. Ford even suggested that he change his name to something stronger, and after some thought, they chose John Wayne, a name that would become legendary. Wayne's early acting career was hard. From 1930 to 1939, he was in over 80 low-budget westerns, sometimes filming the whole thing in just 2 days. He barely made enough money to live, and he often ate only one meal a day, a can of beans heated on a... He was so down about his lack of success by 1939's Stagecoach that he thought about giving up acting for good. The movie was a big deal, but it wasn't easy to cast Wayne. The studio wanted a famous actor like Gary Cooper, but John Ford insisted on Wayne and even threatened to quit the project if they didn't agree. In the movie, Wayne played the Ringo Kid, an outlaw with a strong sense of justice. His first scene, with the camera zooming in on his face as he held a rifle, became famous. Wayne was so nervous that it took 27 takes to get it right. Stagecoach was a hit, nominated for 7 Academy Awards and winning 2. Wayne's performance made him a star overnight, even though he was paid only $3,700, much less than other famous actors. It changed his life. After that, Wayne was seen as the ultimate Western hero, and he turned down parts in movies like The Maltese Falcon and High Noon because he didn't want to change his image. This decision helped him become a symbol. John Wayne and John Ford were the faces of American toughness and masculinity. They worked together for more than 50 years and made 14 movies that changed Hollywood. Their partnership began in 1928, when Ford gave Wayne a small part as an extra in a movie called Mother Machree. But it wasn't until 1939's Stagecoach that they really became famous. Ford was hard on actors, and Wayne often got the short end of the stick. On the set of The Searchers in 1956, Ford made Wayne redo a scene that he had Ford made Wayne pick up a gun 17 times in public, which embarrassed him, but Wayne never complained, because he thought Ford's strict style helped him give his best performances. The Searchers wasn't even nominated for an Oscar when it came out, but it's now thought of as one of the best movies ever made. Their last movie together, Donovan's Reef, almost didn't happen because Wayne thought he was too old for the part and Ford was also sick and drinking too much, but they worked together anyway. It was unbearably hot in Hawaii, sometimes 100 DGF while filming, and Ford got shingles so bad that he had to direct some scenes while lying on a stretcher. Despite these problems, the movie was finished and did pretty well. Unlike their serious westerns, this one was more of a comedy, showing that they could work in different styles even near the end of their careers. Wayne's first Oscar nomination was for Sands of Iwo Jima in 1949, where he played Sergeant John Stryker, a Prito Aribel. Herbert Yates, president of Republic Pictures, had to personally persuade Wayne to accept the offer, offering him $250,000 and a share of the profits, which was a huge amount of money at the time. The movie was hard to make because director Alan Swan wanted the battle scenes to feel real, so they used real flamethrowers and explosives. This led to injuries on set, including one explosion that knocked Wayne out for 30 minutes. Filming stopped for 2 days, and the movie also included real footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima. Many people thought the whole thing was real because the real and fake scenes were mixed together so well. One famous scene showed the flag being raised on Mount Suribachi using the original flag from the battle. 3 of the Marines who raised the flag even showed up in the movie. Despite the movie's success and Wayne's strong performance, he lost the Oscar to Bronson Crawford. Wayne turned down the lead role in All the King's Men because he thought it was un-American. The loss hurt him, and it would be 11 more years before he was nominated again. Wayne's dream project, The Alamo in 1960, was one of the riskiest movies he ever made. He had wanted to make it for over 15 years, and had to mortgage his house, cars, and even his boat to pay for it. The production cost $12 million, which was a lot of money at the time, and Wayne insisted on building a full-scale replica. It took 2 years and over 1.5 million adobe bricks to build the Alamo in Texas. The set was historically accurate down to the smallest details like nails from the 1830s. It became a tourist attraction and stayed open until 2009. Filming the Alamo was a huge job. They had over 7,000 extras, 1,500 horses, and 79 days of filming in temperatures that sometimes reached 110 dF. There were also accidents. In one scene, an extra was hurt with a bayonet and needed 26 stitches. Despite the difficulties, Wayne refused to cut corners. When the movie came out, it was a big deal with a parade and fireworks. It got 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, but critics weren't a fan, and the movie didn't make enough money to cover its huge costs. Wayne wasn't even nominated for Best Director, which made him very sad. However, the movie has had a lasting effect on how people remember the Alamo story. In 1970, Wayne finally won an Oscar for True Grit, in which he played Rooster Cogburn, a one-eyed U.S. Marshal. Wayne almost didn't take the part because he felt too old and was... After reading the book, he realized that playing Rooster Cogburn could be the role of a lifetime. Filming wasn't easy. It was in Colorado, and the cold weather and high altitude were hard on Wayne's health. He had to use an oxygen tank between scenes. At one dangerous scene, Wayne's horse stumbled on a steep hill and almost threw him off. Wayne tore a muscle in his shoulder, but he kept going to play the part. Wayne gained weight and wore an eye patch that made it hard for him to see, so he had to memorize the lines. People loved his performance, which was different from anything he'd done before. The movie made over $31 million and was one of his biggest hits. At the Oscars, Wayne accepted his award with the famous line, "If I'd known this, I'd have put that patch on 35 years earlier." He had the flu that night but refused to miss the ceremony. Some people thought Wayne's Oscar was more for his long career than for the role itself. Wayne himself later said, "It felt like a career award." Rooster Cogburn became one of his most famous roles, and the movie's success cemented his place as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. John Wayne's love life was full of ups and downs. He was married 3 times in almost 50 years. His first wife, Josephine Sen, married him in 1933, when his career was just beginning to take off. They had 4 children together, but Wayne's rising fame kept him away from home a lot. Things got even worse when he began an affair with actress Marlene Dietrich in 1938. Wayne tried to fix his marriage by taking Josephine to Mexico in 1943 to spend time with him, but it didn't work out, and they got a divorce in 1945. His second marriage to Esperanza Bauer in 1946 was crazy and full of problems. Esper, a former actress from Mexico, was very jealous because she thought Wayne was having an affair with his co-star Gail Russell while they were filming Angel and the Bad Man in 1947. Her anger reached a boiling point one night when Wayne got home late from a party, and Esperanza got a gun and shot Wayne. They tried to shoot him as he walked in the door, but no one was hurt, and their marriage didn't last long. They got divorced in 1954. Wayne's third marriage began in 1954 to Pararar Pete, and they stayed married until Pete's death in 1979. They had 3 children together, and things seemed more stable for a while. But by 1973, Wayne and Pilar had split up, and Wayne moved in with his secretary, Pat Stacy, even though they lived apart. Wayne and Pilar never got divorced. Wayne's affair with Marlene Dietrich was well known in Hollywood. Their affair began during the filming of 7 Sinners in 1938, and lasted for almost 10 years. Wayne was married to Josephine at the time, but that didn't stop him from spending nights at Dietrich's house. The two were deeply in love and wrote letters to each other openly about their feelings. Dietrich even used her power to help Wayne's career, getting him lead roles in movies like The Spoilers and Pittsburgh in 1942. Dietrich often called Wayne the love of her life. One of Wayne's most talked about friendships was with Maureen O'Hara. The two starred in 5 movies together, starting with Rio Grande in 1950 and ending with The Quiet Man in 1952. Fans loved their chemistry so much that many thought they were a real-life couple. O'Hara even joked that an old woman on the street thought she was Wayne's wife, and Wayne's kids called her A.T.I. Marin, which shows how close she was to the actor. Wayne and O'Hara did have a brief romance, but ARA's grandson said it wouldn't have worked because they were both too stubborn. Even so, O'Hara stood by Wayne until the end, when he was dying of cancer. She helped him get a congressional medal to honor his legacy. In his last years, Wayne found comfort with Pat Stacey, his secretary. After he and Pilar broke up, Pat became his partner and caregiver. She was 34 years younger than Wayne, but they had a deep connection, and Pat stayed by his side during John Wayne was 57 years old when doctors told him he had lung cancer. This was shocking, but not a surprise to Wayne. They lived together from 1973 until he died in 1979. After he died, Pat wrote a book called Duke: A Love Story in 1983. It told about their time together and showed a softer, more vulnerable side of Wayne that fans rarely saw. Pat never got married, and spent her life keeping Wayne's memory alive. She died in 1995. Mo had smoked up to 6 packs of cigarettes every day for years. To save his life, the doctors had to remove his left lung and 2 ribs. The surgery was dangerous, and Wayne only had a 50% chance of survival, but he made it through and has been cancer-free for 5 years. Most people would have kept their illness a secret, but Wayne chose to tell everyone. His advisors told him that this could hurt his career, but Wayne didn't care. He wanted to help others by encouraging them to get checked for cancer, so he even came up with a nickname. As a way to make cancer less scary, Wayne called it the Big C. A year after his surgery, he was in a TV ad for the American Cancer Society, where he asked people to support cancer research and take the disease seriously. But Wayne's battle with cancer wasn't over. In 1979 he was told he had stomach cancer. He tried an experimental vaccine, but it wasn't enough. Even as his health got worse, Wayne didn't stop speaking out. From his hospital bed he recorded messages asking for more money for cancer research, just weeks before he died. People said they might find a cure for cancer without your help, but I wouldn't put my life on it. Wayne's last movie, The Shoeist, came out in 1976. It was about an old gunfighter dying of cancer, and it felt a lot like his own life. He was 68 years old when he filmed it, and his health was bad. He often needed oxygen between scenes. But he was determined to do his own stunts. In one scene he had to fall several times on a hard floor, but he never complained. The movie was a hit, and people saw it as a goodbye from Wayne. In the original story, Wayne's character was shot in the back, but Wayne refused to change it, saying, "I've never shot a man in the back in any movie." The movie made $13,400,000 and gave Wayne a chance to say goodbye in a role that reflected his own bravery. Wayne died on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72. He had been fighting stomach cancer for months. His death was a big deal in Hollywood and among his fans. President Jimmy Carter called him people, left flowers, notes, and even cowboy hats outside of his hospital and home to honor him. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a place for people to light candles and remember him. Wayne's funeral was private, but later there was a public memorial so fans could say goodbye. It was shown on TV and millions of people watched. The U.S. Naval Academy made him an honorary member of their class of 1979, even though he never served in the military. People showed how much they loved him by renaming an airport John Wayne Airport. In 1985, Wayne's family started the John Wayne Cancer Foundation to honor his memory and carry on his fight against cancer. They wanted his name to always be associated with bravery and strength. The foundation helped start the John Wayne Cancer Institute, which became a leader in cancer research and created new treatments like a way to find cancer early, which has saved many lives. At the time of his death, John Wayne's estate was worth $6,850,000 today, for someone as famous and successful as him. This seemed small because he was one of the highest-paid actors of his time. This could mean that Wayne spent a lot of money or was very generous with it. Not all of Wayne's assets were included in his estate either. For example, he sold his beloved yacht Wild Goose for $750,000 not long before he died. The yacht, which was once a World War II minesweeper, was a big part of his life and its sale. Wayne loved real estate, and his Newport Beach home was one of his most famous properties. He bought it in 1965 and lived there until he died in 1979. The house was on the water and faced Balboa Island. From the street it looked simple, but inside it was grand and luxurious, just like Wayne. After he died, the house was sold for $5. Before moving to Newport Beach, Wayne owned a 5-acre ranch in Encinitas. When he was 58, He sold the ranch for a quieter life by the water. He also owned properties in Arizona and Washington, which showed his love for different landscapes and good sense for real estate. Wayne once joked, "Moving to Newport Beach years earlier had been smart, because by then, I sure as hell couldn't afford it." When Wayne's will was made public after his death in 1979, it caused a lot of drama. The biggest shock was that he left nothing. After being married for more than 20 years, Wayne and Pilar Petty split up in 1973, 6 years before he died. Even though they didn't get a divorce, Wayne left most of his estate to his 7 children from his first 2 marriages. This led to rumors about their relationship and why Petty wasn't included in the will years later. The drama continued in 2010 when Wayne's daughter AA sued her brother Ethan and John Wayne Enterprises over her share of the company. Wayne's will also gave his children personal items, and disagreements over these keepsakes made family fights even worse, showing how dividing his assets caused long-lasting problems. In 2011, an amazing event happened for John Wayne fans. Over 700 items from his life and career were put up for auction. The big event took place on October 6th and 7th at the High Century Plaza in Los Angeles. Fans and collectors got a chance to own pieces of his personal life and movie career. Many of these items had been locked away since Wayne died in 1979. On that day, his house was sealed and all of his things were sent to storage. It was like opening a time capsule after more than 30 years. The auction had a lot of different things, like costumes, props, awards, and even furniture from his home. Some of the items were very special, like his scripts for the Horse Soldiers, which showed how he worked on his movies by having pages folded to show finished scenes. Other scripts like Wednesday Morning were kept neat and perfect, showing how organized he was. Personal items like books, clothes, and his last driver's license were also sold. A collection of the colorful neckerchiefs he loved to wear went for $1,755. Some items broke records. Wayne's Green Beret from the Green Beret 1968 sold for $179,200, which was the highest price ever for a costume hat. People loved it because it reminded them of one of his most famous movies. Another big seller was his cowboy hat, which he wore in movies like Big Jake and the Cowboys. It went for $119,500. Wayne's Golden Globe for his role in True Grit also got a lot of attention. The award, which was tied to his only Oscar-winning role, sold for $143,400. Even small, everyday items like his last driver's license, which seemed so ordinary, sold for $89,500. Clothes like pants from the Alamo and a shirt he wore in several movies sold for thousands of dollars. These items made fans feel like they had a real connection to him. The auction didn't just show his movie career, it also showed who he was as a person. One unique item was a gold-plated Winchester rifle he owned. Wayne's books, which included history and military strategy, showed what he liked to read. His collection of seashells, which people didn't expect to see, showed a softer side of him that people didn't often see. One of the most valuable items was a portrait of Wayne by the artist John Decker, which sold for $71,700. Wayne had kept this painting in his home, which showed how much it meant to him. The auction also had family photos. Fans got a better look at John Wayne's personal life through his letters and even his furniture. They showed that he was more than just a Hollywood star. He was also a father, a friend, and someone with strong ties to his family and the people he cared about. In 1971, John Wayne did an interview with Playboy magazine that made a lot of people angry, and people are still talking about it today. He said some shocking things that showed his controversial views. The most talked about quote was when he said, "I believe in white supremacy." He was 63 years old and very famous at the time, but he had said similar things before. In the same interview, he talked about Native Americans, saying he didn't think it was wrong to take their land because it was necessary for survival. He even said bad things about the movie Midnight Cowboy, calling it perverted and using a homophobic slur. Years later, in February 2019, parts of this interview were shared on Suddenly. People were debating Wayne's legacy all over again. Some wanted him to be fired, while others argued about whether his words should define how we remember him. His comments, even after so many years, sparked big conversations about the responsibility of famous people and how their words can hurt. The controversy didn't just stay on social media, it also brought attention to things named after him, like John Wayne Airport in Orange County. People were calling for the airport to be renamed by 2020. This happened during the nationwide protests after George Floyd's murder on June 26, 2020. The local Democratic Party officially asked for the airport's name to change, saying that Wayne's comments didn't fit with Orange County's values of diversity and inclusion. Orange County used to be a very conservative area, but it's changed a lot. it's become more diverse and politically competitive, with some people thought that keeping Wayne's name on the airport sent the wrong message to minority communities, while others, like Wayne's son Ethan, defended him. Ethan said that his father wasn't racist and that people were unfairly attacking his legacy. As of 2025, the airport still has Wayne's name on it, but the debate continues, showing how hard it is to deal with the legacies of controversial figures. The controversy also affected the University of Southern California, USC, where Wayne went to school. In July 2020, the university decided to take down an exhibit about him from its School of Cinematic Arts. The exhibit had been there since 2012 and showed movie posters and personal items to honor him as a famous alumni. But in late 2019, students and alumni started protesting, saying that Wayne's racist comments made the exhibit unwelcoming, especially for students of color. After months of talks, the university decided to take it down, saying they wanted to promote anti-racism and make the school more diverse. Others said it was wrong to race history. All of this has raised a bigger question. Can you separate someone's art from their personal beliefs? Many fans say that Wayne's movies like The Searchers and Rio Bravo are too important to ignore. They think you can still enjoy his work while condemning his views. But critics say that Wayne's racist comments and the stereotypes in his movies make it impossible to do so. They also say that Wayne's movies often praised a version of American history that didn't talk about how Native Americans were hurt.